The tale of Eva Zámečníková, one of Europe's most wanted fugitives, is a rather repetitive but somewhat intriguing story of love twisted into malice. A story of a once beautiful flower of love now adorned with the thorns of worldly desires, and the florist whose craft yielded more than just blossoms. Or maybe it's the other way around. It could be a justice system that was too weak to uncover the real truth of the matters. The trial of Eva Zámečníková remains one of the most discussed and challenged trials in the entire history of Slovakia. Born on the 16th of October 1981 in the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Eva was a simple florist by profession, owning a wholesale flower business, happily married to Ludovic, a lawyer in the civil service of the Slavic Republic. They spent their days in a mutually bought house in a small village near Trenčín. However, things started going south when Ludovic was transferred to Žilina for work, and their relationship turned into a long-distance one, as he started returning home on the weekends, which took a toll on their relationship. Reportedly, the couple started falling apart when both of them began to believe that the other one was cheating. Eva believed that Ludovic had found a new interest at his workplace, while Ludovic believed that Eva was seeing the former hockey player Thomas Kartuzak behind his back. The relationship weakened with every passing day until the filing of their divorce in January of 2014, along with the agreement that allowed Eva to keep the house if she paid her husband's investment back to him, which amounted to about 80,000 euros. How much good it would have been for her if she had just paid the money, but Eva had something else in mind, reportedly beginning to conspire against her husband, which would end up leading to horrible consequences. On the 15th of January 2014, Eva hired an assassin named Martin Adamkovic for the murder of her husband at her family home in the Slavic village of Čečelna. Eva also said the manner of assassination and the date of assassination, and Martin was supposed to receive 50,000 euros for the crime. A pistol was supposed to be provided by a businesswoman from Slovakia, but it ended up being non-functional, so the woman devised a different plan, handing Martin a stun gun to incapacitate him and then strangling him to death with a rope. Everything was set for the 17th of January and the murder was successful, but there was more to it than the eye could have seen. It would later be revealed that the murder took place under police supervision because Martin had supposedly had a change of heart and decided to turn to the police with everything. The police then collaborated with Martin to catch Eva with proof, and they also set a listening device on his body to record the conversation with Eva. Martin and his accomplice, who was a police officer in disguise, staged a murder in the house, making it appear as though they had strangled Ludovic to death. The corpse was then wrapped in a blanket, and Martin loaded it onto their escape vehicle to dispose of it. The murder was carried out with as much efficiency as all the characters, including Ludovic and Martin, were trained by police to make it look credible. The police went this far just to catch Eva with some proof and a possible assumption that Eva was monitoring the murder herself through cameras in the house. After this, Eva would be detained by police on the 24th of January 2014, and her case was brought to court where she was charged with attempted murder. Martin would be the crown witness of this crime. The whole prosecution was brought on his testimony.
By som to fakt fyzicky spravil a ja vlastne oznámim, že už je mŕtvy, tak ona by zavolala na policajtov. A nikomu by som nič nevysvetlil.
Martin testified that he was offered 50,000 euros to murder Eva's husband, but Eva would deny the claim during the trial at the court of first instance, claiming that there was no evidence to verify Martin's claims. She also claimed this was a vengeful attempt by Martin as she refused to lend him money.
Aký možno mal motív on, aby vám takto ublížil?
Já to vidím jednoznačně finanční.
Eva and her brother, who funnily enough was also named Martin, would raise questions about the credibility of the testifier, who had a criminal record of robbery, extortion, and had spent years in prison. Directly quoting, "This is a person who makes a living by blackmailing people, by fraud, a person who always sticks to someone, who runs a business, acts as a quasi-security guard for them, and things like that. He was just a convict swindler." Despite his criminal record, Adamkovic was able to convince the police with his version of the story, whether true or fabricated by him. It didn't matter because the Slavic National Crime Agency believed him. To Zámečník's blame, he replied, "I have no criminal activity, no open cases, I have been clean for years. I have absolutely nothing to blame myself for, I behaved correctly and spared the life of a good person." The matter was challenged and the decision of the court of first instance was returned twice, by the appellate division of the Slavic Supreme Court, but only based on the Legal Classification Act. The court originally sentenced Eva to 9 years in prison, but she appealed this decision, and the Supreme Court returned the decision for further consideration. This would lead to a delay in the final decision for 6 years, with the court giving out their final statement in January of 2020. Eva's lawyer, Stefan Nizmeri, filed an appeal in the Slovak Supreme Court based on reasonable suspicion that Eva's case deserved a thorough examination because her case seemed very strange, illegally carried out, and one-sided.
Tak perfektní pocit. Osvobozená, tak jak to mělo být hned na začátku.
Stefan claimed there had not been any logical reflections or motives for Eva's actions or any solid chain of evidence that tied Eva to a claim, other than a single testimony from a man who himself was involved in the case and was by no means a legal citizen. Eva herself would describe her circumstances in different interviews, which were never brought to light in the pre-trial proceedings of her criminal prosecution and the main hearings. Eva had a lot to say regarding her biased prosecution. I feel wrong throughout the criminal proceedings from the beginning to the conviction. If my case had been assigned lawfully to a lawful investigator and had not been deliberately selected, I do not believe that a prosecution would have even been initiated based on one testimony. In the future, I would like to see a proper investigation of my case from the very beginning. Explaining the fabricated evidence that led to her being framed as a criminal, Eva claimed that there was no evidence suggesting that she would have planned such a thing. Eva claimed on multiple occasions that the real evidence that really might have proved her innocence was never brought to light. The first version of the investigator was that I wanted a property benefit. I don't know for what reason, but neither the investigator nor the prosecutor requested any of my bank statements in the Czech Republic and submitted only one Slavic one, which I used minimally. She also emphasized the fact that she had been somehow framed, connecting pieces of evidence with the case in a way that didn't make sense. Eva told the media there were no such strains in her marital relationship which were claimed in the court. If the gentlemen got their jobs, they would get more out of the account. Only their balances wouldn't fit their fabrication. Then the reason appeared in the judgment that I did not want to feed him. At all costs, they had to find a motive even if it didn't fit with any evidence. So what made this relationship so toxic? Was it toxic in the first place, or was it just hyped up to frame Eva? Was her case even studied? Eva explained that her relationship wasn't great, but it wasn't too strained either. It was just bland. Neither one of them bore negativity for the other one, at least that's what she thought. I don't know of any such circumstance. From my point of view, the relationship was neither escalated nor unbearable. We got to a stage where marriage just lost both meaning for us, so we agreed to divorce. At least I took it that we would get divorced and go our separate ways. Additionally, denying the claims of her doing this for money, Eva claimed that she had more money and more property than her husband, which she attested in court. Besides, Eva said that her husband's earnings went to her mother's account rather than to the joint account. Claiming the trial and the accusations to be utterly illogical, Eva also raised questions about the procedure of the court and how a single testimony could result in the filing of multiple charges when the testimony itself proved to be shallow, coming from a questionable man. Eva would also raise questions about why she was forced to submit to her crime by the court, which she didn't even commit. If you look at the entire file, you will find that the prosecution arose on the basis of a single testimony, even more deceptively. Eva would also take a dig at the recorded phone calls held up against her at trial, saying that no matter how much recording they presented, they couldn't produce something she did not even say. I don't mind at all that our conversations have been documented. There is nothing in either of them to incriminate me that I am ordering the murder of my ex-husband. If there were 1,000 interviews, you wouldn't find it in any because you don't order something you don't say. No one will create anything like that out of your mouth. Eva further added that the recordings were not even thoroughly checked, and the outcome was shaped by whatever the testifier rooted against her. She also claimed that almost 3/4 of the original recordings were missing, and the rest were manipulated to frame her, saying that the police and the witness were involved in it and they could have manipulated to frame her as anything, even as just a robber. Eva also explained how the CCTV footage could have been proof of her innocence as well, but the CCTV footage would never be brought to light and was deleted when questioned about it that specific day. Imagine that on January 16th you go to the police and learn that a murder order has been placed on you that your wife has ordered on your house. So you would probably logically and automatically look at camera recordings. At least to the date and the order because you have access to them. You download them and upload them, but this didn't happen. While I was still in custody, we commissioned investigators to secure my ex-husband's laptop, from which cameras and devices were controlled, but we were refused. Emphasizing the shallowness and the falseness of the witness, Eva claimed that the witness agent often changed scenarios of their encounters, adding some and omitting some, which brought out the shallowness in the blame that was put on her. The fact that the witness invented one scenario after another, constantly changing something, adding something, omitting. So what do you want to confront him with? Perhaps he has support and motivation in this. If the police officers or whoever was with him in the house at the facility had not deleted the CCTV footage, he would have been confronted with the footage immediately and the whole thing would have ended. She also claimed she wouldn't have demanded the footage or the recordings to be brought to light if she was not innocent. Whoever deleted the records knew very well that the witness agent had lied. If he were telling the truth, they would have been happy to use these recordings against me. If I had been guilty, I would certainly not have demanded a record from custody and later in the courts that would have convicted me. As we proceed to the final decision of the court, don't forget that your engagement can play a crucial role in this narrative. If you're finding this video interesting, hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel for future updates. Despite Eva's earnest efforts, the court remained unconvinced by the unconventional stance, viewing the amalgamation of the witness, whistleblower, and agent within a single individual with skepticism. Even the Supreme Court deemed such weight gain to be illegal, but the final result did not turn out in Eva's favor, as the Slovak Supreme Court itself found her guilty of plotting the assassination on her husband, and sentenced her to 8 years in prison with a minimal level of guarding. Eva was very disappointed by the annulment of the motion from her side, which questioned the logicality of the weight of the witness's testimony carrying the trial. I don't know why you made it up, but there are several possibilities. However, the principle should be that when someone claims something, he must be able to prove it. Why the courts did not respect the legal opinions of the Supreme Court, I do not know. That's more of a question for the courts themselves. The court found the decision to be just and according to the law of the state. Directly quoting from the court's spokeswoman, Alexandra Vazanova, based on the defendant's appeal, the Senate of National Assembly of the Slovak Republic overturned the judgment of the STS and itself decided by finding the defendant guilty of preparing a particularly serious crime of premeditated murder, essentially meaning the Supreme Court found her guilty independent of the earlier investigation. Alexandra further added that the National Assembly will be taking every step to make sure Eva serves her complete sentence. But Eva had other plans in mind as she skipped the last hearing, apologizing for medical reasons, fleeing the scene after the court's final decision, and has been on the run ever since. She had a lot in her heart that she wanted to say, perhaps broken and disappointed by the justice that she got from the courts, as she believed in the innocence that was tainted by some cruel decisions. I cannot put my head down because they cut it off a long time ago. If hell exists after death, then a few people from the police and the judiciary served it to me and my family while I was still alive. Now, according to the hidden florist, the procedures of the investigation, practices of the police officer, and the court trials that have proceeded on a single testimony must all be brought to light, so that the hazardous elements of this system can be ripped out, as it could save those who are weak of heart, unsupported, and disbelieved by their family and friends from wasting their lives seeking justice for themselves. Such practices should cease, and all police officers who act in violation of the Code of Criminal Procedure and the Constitution should leave their posts and be punished, because they must be aware of what will be caused by their actions and how many human lives they can destroy. Not everyone is as lucky as I am to have family that stands by me. Many people will have their health irretrievably destroyed, their families fall apart, and in the worst case, they can commit suicide because life becomes unbearable for them. The last known whereabouts of her, according to her neighbors, were with her mother and daughter in a small village near the Slovak-Czech border.
Já jsem byl vlastně u toho začátku, kdy přišli na firmu, kdy přišli tam, jak se říká, zbalit.
The Slovak police have been keeping an eye out in the Czech region, and the Slovak police stated, "We have asked the police of the Czech Republic for cooperation in finding Eva Zámečníková on Czech territory." The Slovak police, after failing to find her within the borders, have spread their search across the borders, within the framework of the Schengen Information System, which enables an effective search across all 30 Schengen countries of Europe, which makes Eva one of the most wanted fugitives. The police have been asking neighbors and their relatives about her whereabouts ever since, and none of them have any idea about where she could have disappeared.
Čekalo se na soud, no a já jsem měl zhruba, teď neřeknu přesně, jestli to bylo 10 nebo 12 dnů nebo 11 předtím, návštěvu.
While the verdict of the Slovak Supreme Court is final and the convict is not able to appeal, even then, Eva's brother and her family have said that they firmly believe in her innocence and the justice they will be seeking once again from the court. Eva's brother claimed that Eva had no reason to kill her husband and he would report Eva to the police soon. Believing in her innocence, he told a newspaper she will report herself to the police in the foreseeable future. She's innocent and we'll be doing everything we can to prove it. We're going to file an appeal, and if necessary, we will go to the European court. An innocent person can't go to jail for something that they did not do. As we conclude Eva's story, we're left with a lot of questions on our minds. Mainly, was everything true? Was this true justice that was executed in her case? Or has she been the target of a huge conspiracy of manipulation and injustice? Has this system been unjust before? Whether we perceive her as a criminal or not can depend a lot on our independent views. So, we're interested. Share your thoughts about this case in the comments below and what you believe to be the true victim.